The only way is the right way, I might say. Nobody doing it better, y'all some lightweights. Malik Wright, up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles, got a stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals. Oh man, there's no one discussing it. They came, they stayed, they either did it or done it. Man, I love it, cause all they ever do is win. So kick back, relax, the TWSN.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of State of the Jungle with Malik Wright, presented by the Right Way Sports Network. I'm your host, Malik Wright, joined by my co-host. As always, we've got Evan, we've got Logan, we got our YouTube manager, Jimmy, in the building, and we've got a jam-packed show. Like we do each and every single week, we appreciate y'all for tuning in, making us a part of your Wednesday evenings. If you guys could do us all a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. And damn, that always feels good to say. But let me start off the show by saying this. You guys know me, right? I'm a little unhinged. At times. I like to say what's on my mind at times. Let me just say this. I want to just make this very, very clear. When we embarked on this journey, right, when I decided to launch State of the Jungle, it was always about the people, right? It was always about the people. And that's what our message is going to be going forward. The one thing I'm happy to say, one thing I always say, I don't believe one person is self-made or taught everything. I think you learn ideas from everybody. But I just want to take a moment and just say how proud I am of my team at the Right Way Sports Network for the grind that we actually embraced. If there was any such thing as a self-made company, it's definitely been us. We've never been funded by or backed financially by any business entity, any way, shape, or form. It's just really just hardworking people with an idea that really believes in their process. So in large part, a lot of the maneuvers you guys have seen me make recently is because it has to be about team. And when it's not about team, you have to move forward in the correct direction. And that's why we made the move that we made, again, to put TWSN first, because essentially when I moved to Cincinnati, I really thought that TWSN, my brand, my company, the people that got me into where I am were going to be a part of the journey. And when I realized that they were not, I realized it was time to move forward. So I just want to make this clear because this is going to be the last time that I ever talk about the situation in any way, shape, or form. Nothing but great things. Extremely appreciative for the last 2 years. But TWSN is moving full steam ahead. TWSN has always been its own separate entity. It's never been included a part of anything that I've been a part of, and I've tried to get TWSN a part of that. But once that was clear to me that was not wanted, appreciated, or anything like that, I moved forward, and I moved forward with the people that got me where I am. So I appreciate you guys for still tuning in to State of the Jungle each and every single Wednesday. Guess what? The logo might change, but my stripes don't change. We're going to keep it going. So, Evan, Logan, we got a jam-packed show, a lot of stuff that we want to get into. It's a lot of stuff that I'm hearing coming out of training camp that we're going to get into. We're going to get into all of that. But before we get into all of that, let me ask y'all this, right? There's been a lot of talk about Joe Burrow's arm strength. There's been a lot of talk about how he's looked sharp. What are you guys, right? What are you guys really, really looking forward to in terms of Joe Burrow? But this is before we even get into the topics. I just want to ask y'all this. What are y'all looking forward to from Joe Burrow, QB1, QB9, this upcoming season?
I'm just looking for him to be healthy and look like himself again, because I've talked previously about how outside of last year, he was PFF's highest graded passer the year before that and the year before that. Looking for him to regain his form. And it seems like by all accounts that he's been throwing lasers out there in practice. Excuse me. Hasn't thrown an interception yet, which you could say, hey, he's being very accurate and the ball placement's not a problem and he's not looking rusty. You could also say maybe he's playing it a little bit safe. I think it's been 1 day of pads. Cam Taylor-Britt's not been out there, so I'm gonna let it kind of ride for another, maybe week before I want to make any sweeping declarations. But definitely just return to form. Being the top 5 quarterback, top 3 passer that we have expected him to be. Everybody's pointed out, even the NFL Countdown recently, that people are back to being like, well, I don't know about Joe. Is he coming back? Is he going to be the same guy? And by all accounts, it seems like he is still that guy. So looking forward to him just kind of reclaiming his title and his position as an elite quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, for me, I'm just kind of really looking forward to see his rhythm and his timing with there's a bunch of new faces on this offense, and Joe's always been a guy that is very on time, very efficient, does exactly what needs to be on time in his reads and his throws and everything, but when you bring in a whole bunch of new faces, it might take a little bit longer to kind of get that timing and that rhythm down with as many new bodies as we have out there. It's just something that's been his strength. So I'm interested just to see how that carries along with a lot of these new faces. And like you said, he feels like it's one of the deepest offensive group he's ever had. So it makes me feel comfortable about it. But that's his strength. Lots of new faces. I'm interested to see how it all puts together.
I agree, guys. I agree. Like I said, I think the one thing I'm looking for Joe Burrow is to shut everybody up. Shut everybody up. There's a lot of people that are doubting, a lot of people who believe that, Joe Burrow is all talk and he hasn't deserved the praise, the hype that he's been getting. But I think that Joe Burrow is in for a big, big season. But let's talk about, Marissa, I want to start with the tight end battle real quick. That's what I want to do. I want to start with the tight end battle. There are a myriad of tight ends right now that the Bengals have, right? Whether it be Tanner McLaughlin, Mike Gesicki, Eric All, who's just been cleared for contact and all that good stuff. Hakeem Butler, I think, right? Yeah, I think sort of, right? That's the kind of role he's playing. It's kind of weird on that front. Who do y'all think is going to rise to the top? I know there are people that are out there that are like, yo, we still believe in Tanner Hudson. Like, Tanner Hudson, believe it or not, has a hive out there. But what do y'all who do y'all expect to really take the next step in the tight end room? Obviously, Mike Gesicki is going to be slated as tight end 1. We know that already, even though he's a quote unquote glorified wide receiver. Mike Gesicki is tight end 1. But who do y'all think is really going to grow into that role? Because Mike Gesicki is only under contract for the Cincinnati Bengals this year. After this year, it's wide open, right? You don't know whose quote unquote spot is going to be. There are a lot of people that are praising Eric All. A lot of people are excited about Eric All and his potential in this Bengals offense. But Logan, I'm going to start off with you. What are your thoughts?
It depends how you want to look at the question. I think for this upcoming year, I think the tight end that's going to play the most snaps, to be honest, is probably going to be Drew Sample. I think at the end of the day, they're probably going to run a little bit more two tights, but he's still your blocking tight end. He's still very valuable in the run game and even the pass blocking game. Mike's going to be very effective when he's on the field. He's going to be point blank and simple. He's going to be good and very productive when he is on the field. But Drew Sample, he does a lot of things that your stereotypical tight ends do. He's going to block. He's going to do all the dirty work, and that's going to keep him on the field. That's what's kept him on the field for years. So, I think he's just going to end up playing the most snaps. But if you're looking more towards the future, you got to just turn your head to the rookies. Obviously, we don't know what Mike's future looks like on the one-year deal. He's a very exciting player. I think he fits pretty phenomenally within this offense. But they drafted 2 tight ends for a reason. And they drafted 2 tight ends that are pretty exciting, too. It's not like they drafted, a Drew Sample where his best perks are his run blocking. They drafted a do-it-all tight end in Eric All, and they drafted an elite receiving tight end in Tanner McLaughlin. So that's kind of my take on it, on the tight end room, both now and in the future. Expect a lot of Drew Sample this year to probably lead in snap percentage, if I had to guess, and then lean on the rookies, in the years forward.
Yeah. Last 2 seasons, Bengals have carried 4 tight ends. Obviously, we're talking about 5 right here. Back in 2021, the Bengals did carry 5. CJ Uzoma, Mason Schreck, Drew Sample, Clark Harris, and Mitchell Wilcox. Notable thing there is some of those guys have that kind of H-back versatility. Yeah. Like you said, Drew Sample is probably more of that. And I think Eric All is your other kind of blocking type tight end, right? Not to say that he's not a talented receiver or not more of the all-around tight end, but I think he's your other kind of like, hey, if Drew Sample's not out there, is Eric All arguably your best blocking tight end that you have? I think there's an argument for that, right? Yeah. So that's why I think Eric All, Mike Gesicki, and Drew Sample are all safe for that reason. So then when we talk about do they carry 4, do they carry 5, and who we're expecting to maybe get jettisoned off to the practice squad or maybe end up on another roster, you're looking at Tanner McLaughlin and Tanner Hudson. And between that, I'm partial to usually going with the younger guy, right? Yeah. Because I feel like Hudson has a very particular set of skills that he is what he is right now. And you are going to have if he feels young because he was off the practice squad, right? But he's going to be 30 this year, right? So I completely understand the comfortability, right, of being like, hey, he's familiar with the offense, but this isn't a guy who has to be your tight end too, like he did last year, right? Or your primary receiving tight end. You have Eric All, Mike Gesicki, and then maybe Tanner McLaughlin for that.
Yeah.
So I think they could carry 5. It's tough when you have a wide receiver room as deep as it is, and you have so many defensive backs, particularly safeties, and you want to keep the D-line rotation deep. Like, you are going to have to make some cuts somewhere else. Unfortunately, I think that might end up being like backup offensive line, where maybe they have their 5 starters and then they carry Mims, Ford, maybe backup center, and kind of have that be their main guys. And then try and sandwich some other guys in the practice squad. But if they do carry 5, obviously this is kind of a moot point. I think if you go with 4, if I have to choose between Hudson and the younger guy, I'm going to choose the younger guy, McLaughlin, who offers a lot of the same upside that Tanner Hudson does, but also hopefully can develop into more as he gets more comfortable with kind of playing that pseudo tight end Mike Gesicki role, which maybe playing behind Mike Gesicki will really benefit him.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the whole Hakeem Butler wrinkle is kind of fun too. I don't think he's technically going to be a tight end for them or anything. I think he's probably going to be a receiver, but he's still kind of that bigger body. He's a lot like Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is not really a tight end, so it's another one of those profiles that's kind of like your big power slot kind of guy. You know, your bigger body. He can do a little bit of everything. Not the fastest, not the most agile guy, but he makes plays. I mean, I know he never panned out in the NFL, but he still was a really good prospect when he was coming out of Iowa State. You know, obviously he dominated in the USL or the USFL, whichever one he played in, which is good to see. But he came in, signed quickly. He's done pretty good so far in camp. So I mean, that's another wrinkle to consider in here as well. Even though I do think will be kept more as a receiver than a tight end.
I got to be honest with you guys. I'm really, really high on Tanner McLaughlin in his future. I think that you look at what the Bengals like to do. Don't get me wrong. I like Eric All. I'm not as like overly thrilled as a lot of people are about him. And I think in large part of that is not that he's not good. It's that I'm from the show me state. I need to see it consistently. And when I say consistent, I need you to be available, right? I need you to be out there. He's dealt with some injuries.
Some scary ones,
man. And I think obviously when you look at a guy like Tanner McLaughlin, you can point to his age. But one thing we need to point to is the fact of how productive he was at the college level. You talk about Tanner McLaughlin's catch radius, and you think about it, man. If that guy, he also tore his ACL in college, right? If that guy probably didn't tear his ACL in college and maybe was a little bit younger, he probably would have went a lot higher than what he did.
And he started as a receiver,
right? So. And so when you look at the Bengals, definitely have a type. Yeah, you know, when people date, they say, "Oh, I don't have a type," or "I have a type," right? The Bengals definitely have a type at the tight end spot. And maybe it's a situation in which the Bengals will always run a tight end by committee type thing. Maybe they go about it and they say, you know what, in the event that Mike Gesicki has a big year, he moves on. At least we have our tight end of the future, right? Yeah. I'd like to think that if Mike Gesicki has a big year, he'll make it very, very difficult for the Cincinnati Bengals to say, hey, we're willing to part with that, guys. But let's face it, the same question I asked Duke Tobin at the NFL Combine this past year. I said, hey, the tight end position has been such a revolving door for the Bengals. When do we solidify it? When do you say to yourself that we need to really say, this is our guy, and this is the guy that we're going to roll with? You can't let another good tight end walk out the door. It can't just be a revolving door at the tight end, unless one of these guys absolutely blows you away. Does Drew Sample do that? I don't think he does that.
No, he is what he is.
Does Tanner McLaughlin do that? Maybe. Does Eric All do that? Maybe. Does Hakeem Butler, who's working in and out of the spot, does he do that? Maybe. That's the hope. Listen, our theme is competition breeds success, right? The cream will always rise to the top. The best of the best will always rise to the top. And I think that Mike Gesicki is going to really set the standard for the Bengals tight end position group. You know, I think that it's been a couple of years since the Bengals had a tight end that has the catch radius and is that physical out there. Probably since Tyler Eifert, if I'm being honest. And I'm willing to say this because I've been watching Mike Gesicki since he was in high school, being from Jersey. I think Mike Gesicki is going to be a home run signing for the Bengals. I think Mike Gesicki is going to steal red zone touchdowns from guys like T. Higgins, guys like Jamar Chase, because I think he's that much of a mismatch. While you're paying attention to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Jermaine Burton, and we'll get to some of these other guys that have been standing out that a lot of people have been talking about, Mike Gesicki is going to take your lunch money. This guy's been a red zone beast no matter where he's been, even in limited opportunities with the New England Patriots. we saw what Mike Gesicki can do. And what I've been banging the table was for the last 2 years about Mike Gesicki, and people are like, "Oh, Malik, well, he's washed up, or he's this, they there." In a short span, I get it. It's just t-shirt in shorts, if you will. Mike Gesicki has already turned a lot of heads at training camp. I think even in the Bengals' eyes, they didn't realize fully what they were getting in Mike Gesicki. I meant it when I said, I didn't mean it as a hot take. Whenever I jump up on this show, whenever I speak out and I say something, listen, all I got in this life is my word and my balls. Like that's all I got. And when I jump up on this show and I say, yo, this person is going to be this, it's either one, I know something. Two, I've watched the person. Like I've watched them. I've watched Mike Gesicki. I would never hammer the table for Mike Gesicki this hard or for a tight end this hard if I didn't think that they were being held back by their system or their quarterback. Mike Gesicki has proven in a very, very short span that, yo, if he's able to stay healthy, notice what I'm saying. If he is able to stay healthy, that guy is going to be a problem. And I hope that Tanner McLaughlin, I hope that Eric All can all take something from his game. Because when it comes to receiving tight ends, Mike Gesicki is up there. He's good.
Yeah.
He's good. And I hate to be talking about him, and then people will probably pull up his stats and say, Malik, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And guess what? I'll tell you this much. If I'm wrong about Mike Gesicki, I'll shut up. I'll shut up. I'll never give no more takes on the show. I'll leave it at that. But that guy is a gamer. That guy's a gamer, and I think that the Bengals are going to be very, very happy with who they got. But let's talk about some training camp standouts so far. I'm already getting ahead for the preseason, right? Let's talk about some training camp standouts and some stuff that I've been hearing. Yeah, should I start with the bad or the good?
The bad.
I was going to say start
good?
with the good. I want to get on.
Guys, listen to the comment section. Should we start with the bad or good? While we got you here, guys, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. So let me know. Should we start with the good, bad? What do y'all think, guys?
We're split over here.
I want to start with the good. I'll tell you what. Why don't I start with the good? You start with the bad, and then we'll kick it over to you.
And I'll tell you what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Santa.
Woo! Makes the dream work.
Santa.
All right. So my good is Andre Yoshibas.
Yep.
And I think the most encouraging thing, we know he's an athlete, right? So we know he's going to look good out there in shorts and T-shirts, right, without the pads on and everything else. I think what's so encouraging about him is not just he looks the part out there and seems to be playing very well, using his athleticism, his size. It's how comfortable they feel moving around the formation. And that's
It's
something
huge,
that they talk. It's the athleticism and the size that he has and being able to have that versatility. It's been such a big thing because if Jamar was out or if T was out, you had to have them at the X, right?
Yeah.
You weren't playing Tyler Boyd outside very often.
Yeah.
Trenton Irwin is a very respectable player, but is not threatening a lot of people that way, right? So they didn't necessarily have these very solid other players that they can use. And now you're sitting here with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins, with Yoshi Voss, with Jermaine Burton, all these guys you can move in the slot or outside. I think it's going to free up a lot of other guys to move around like Jamar getting in the slot. But I remember Jamar himself talking about how the coaching staff hadn't quite trusted him fully in the slot. Yeah. And yet they went out of their way to kind of mention Yoshibas has looked really good as we move him around and put him in the slot. So for them to have that intention, we know obviously he's a very smart guy, to have that kind of just vocal praise for him as, hey, he's the second year, fifth round pick. And now he's already being trusted with moving around, with digesting more of the playbook, with being out there, taking a lion's share of these reps. And it's counter to another guy that I'm sure we'll talk about later. And, how Charlie Jones has kind of started the camp altogether. I know he had a good day the other day, but just the overall body of work so far in the very short part of camp that we shouldn't read too much into. But I definitely think it's a very good positive that means a lot for the Bengals, not just this year, but also going forward in life after T. Higgins, if Yoshi Voss really can handle moving around the formation and handling a little bit more of the target responsibility and red zone work.
Yeah, and I'm gonna obviously shift it over to the bad. I don't even want to necessarily call it the bad. I think a lot of training camp and this time of the year is just going off of what's truly been reported and what's out there. So just because I'm gonna say they're bad here, that doesn't mean they have. We haven't seen enough of them as we've seen some of these other guys. But I mean, there hasn't really been much about any of our new acquisitions, to be honest with you, that has been like exciting or anything.
Yeah.
You haven't heard much about Zach Moss. You haven't heard much about Geno Stone. Rankins has been, here and there so far, but like it would just be nice to hear some more positives about a lot of the new bodies we're bringing in. And I know they're all veterans. So
Lou did say the
so
communication the
things-
other day has gotten much better
Yeah.
at the safety. So,
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that's the big
I'm
thing
gonna
for
credit
them,
Devon
right?
Bell a little bit. Obviously, he's been back, so
He knows a thing or two, right?
we
Yeah,
know, which is
he's
great
familiar.
nonetheless.
Right.
Absolutely great to hear nonetheless. But I just wish there was some more excitement around that crop of players.
We'll get there, man.
And
Give it time.
it'll
Good
get
things
there.
take time,
It-
right?
It will. They're all good players. There's no regrets in it. I think they all fit well, but somebody should have kicked them off with a little bit more of a
Yeah, no, it'd be fun.
good. Yeah, that's my nitpicking bad there.
All right, Malik, what you got?
So let me just say this. I think when people let me add context. I think that I have always tried to be sort of the voice of reason when it comes to media in Cincinnati and sort of why they may operate the way they operate. It's very hard for them to go off on a soundboard if you cover the team each and every single day
Mhm.
and talk openly about a player that's struggling.
Yeah.
And being quote unquote
Totally.
unfair to him because you have to see that player the next day.
Yeah.
And what you say might put him in a negative light. Could be I don't know what the correct word is, but it could be you're playing with fire there. You're playing with fire. You're creating potentially a hostile situation and maybe alienating that player in some degree. That being said, here's what I'll say about my situation. This is why I've always wanted to never cover the team. I might have grown up a Bengals fan, but I've always appreciated being objective and being able to tell it like it is what I'm hearing. Let me just specify this. I didn't go out seeking information for said players. I didn't go out, doing all this. I was told this information. And I trust people that I speak to on a regular. I don't think that they would make this stuff up. So what I'm trying to say, I'm not saying this to be down on players, to do any of that. Let me start with the punting battle for a second. And while you're here, if you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. Brad Robbins is still Brad Robbins. That's what I've heard. Brad Robbins is still who he is. He's had some good days. He's improved in some areas, but the one area with Brad Robbins is he's always lacked consistency. You don't know what you're getting. The guy has the talent. He's got a damn good mustache, right?
That matters.
But that matters. Yeah, that matters. 100% matters.
Marketability matters.
100%.
Especially at punt.
100%. Trying to tell you. But the fact of the matter is it's still the same Brad Robbins.
Right.
And the Bengals are going to do everything in their power to give that guy the opportunity to win the job.
Yeah.
Austin McNamara, again, he's a guy that has looked good. There's the distance. The hang time ain't there, right? And that's something that the Bengals are huge on. They want a guy that can prevent these punt returns. They need that, right? They want to make the job easier on the special teams, which brings me to Ryan Recco. If you ask me right now today, as it stands, who's going to win the punting battle? I think it might be Ryan's job to lose.
Oh, really?
Ryan has
Quickly.
all the tools. Talk
Talk to me, Malik. Talk to me. What are you hearing?
Distance, right? The distance, the hang time. He was brought in because, let's face it, those guys can't do their job
Yeah,
consistently.
you wouldn't have brought in a third
That's
punter.
why
if they were
they're
happy.
hoping that helps elevate. Again, competition breeds success. Cream rises to the top. That's why Ryan Recco was brought in, right? Ryan Recco, if y'all don't know, he lost the punting job in Kansas City to who? Punt God in Matt Ariza. Anybody would probably lose that job to Matt Ariza. So this is a guy that probably, if Matt Ariza wasn't on the Kansas City Chiefs, he probably would be the Kansas City Chiefs' new punter.
Yep.
So the fact of the matter is, I think you have to look at it from that prospect. That I think Ryan Recco, it has the inside track to that job, obviously, but I think that those guys are gonna have every chance to win. Again, it's early. You still need to perform in the game. You still need to
Inside
perform.
track to win the punting job, though.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
quick coming on the roster. Okay,
And I think everything that they've seen from him so far has been consistency. Everything they've seen from him has been consistency. Again, this ain't me standing out there, right, watching training camp. This is people I'm talking to in the building, right? So let me keep the conversation rolling on some more guys. Zach Carter.
Woo.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite punching bag. It's
sometimes
again,
you are,
we're not trying to be overly negative.
Just being honest,
being
struggling
honest,
getting off
yeah.
blocks. It's more of the same what they talked about last year.
Not what you want from third year, right?
Yeah.
Third year player.
Yeah, not what
Yeah,
you want
that's
from
tough.
him. You expect that guy to take the next leap. Hasn't been what you're looking for.
Or to look good against the 2s and the 3s in camp. right? To
right.
not be.
I mean, the struggle
struggling.
getting off blocks is a
Right.
big deal. But so let me say this. Let me say it like this. That guy needs to have a monstrous preseason.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to.
God, that'd be so nice if
Especially
he would,
all the
too.
talent that they have
Nice.
added to that room.
Right.
Man, I'm trying to tell you, they need that guy to step up. But let me keep on coming in hot. And Evan, this is gonna actually it's actually gonna make you think for a little bit.
Oh, it's gonna make me think. All right.
So
I know it's,
I gotta be very cautious when I say what I'm about to say.
Say what you need to say.
DJ Turner has not looked good from what I heard. DJ
Interesting.
Turner has not looked good. He's had moments, but he's been beaten by Trent Irwin deep.
Saw that.
He's had moments where, you look at it, a lot of basically the DJ Turner that they saw towards the end of the season is the DJ Turner that has pretty much shown its face in training camp. Inconsistent moments, but inconsistent. You want to talk about a guy that's standing out though? Dax Hill.
See, I've not heard this.
Dax Hill.
I have heard.
Dax Hill. Dax Hill has played inside, has played outside, and he's been pretty consistent.
This is why I'm excited for more camp because I
Me
definitely
too.
want to see.
And
more.
again,
Yeah.
I just want to caution.
No,
again,
it's just it's
I
funny
need
because
more.
it depends who you talk to
Yeah.
because obviously you can't watch every
Yeah.
player out there, which is why
right.
Malik, you having your sources in the building is
Mhm.
very valuable because
Mhm.
these guys are watching the practice tape, right? These guys are more familiar with probably every
Yeah.
rep down in, down
Yeah.
out over this whole
Yeah.
course than maybe
Yeah.
beat writers that we
Mhm.
might listen to
Mhm.
who do an excellent job.
They do
covering
an
the
excellent
team.
job.
Yeah, I'm not trying to disparage anybody there. Obviously, if you have practice tape and can sit there and watch it over and over again, you have a better idea consistently with
Right.
what's going on with all the players. You
Right.
can't watch everything.
Right.
But it was funny just because I've heard, like you said, that DJ
Mhm.
Turner has had his moments and he's gotten on,
Mhm.
some double moves and,
Yeah.
at the catch point losses, right? Which
Mhm.
is what we've become accustomed to with him and his size. But I've also heard the same of Dax where he's got good flashes, but then there are some of the struggles, which
Mhm.
again, it's early in camp and fun,
Yeah.
dude. Playing corner is
Yeah.
tough. Like you can
And again, that's why I don't want to like bully a player or
Right.
give a player.
But it's what you're hearing. It's what you're
It's
hearing.
what
right
I'm
now.
hearing.
We got a couple weeks.
I've got to
We're
be
all right.
honest with y'all and tell you the truth. Again, you come and watch State of the Jungle on Wednesdays. For me, I'm not going to tell you BS. I'm not going to tell you crap. I'm going to tell you what it is. And the fact of the matter is, I've heard good things about Dax Hill. I'm not saying anybody's a starter or anybody's lost a job today. I'm just going to say today is July 31st, and there's a lot of training camp left, and there is a lot of preseason left, and it's going to be up for grabs. But if people want the tea leaves, people want the sauce, and they want to know right now as it stands, I'm very curious to see when the roster breaks out. Right when you talk about that first preseason game, who's going to be slotted as the number 2 corner. That's what I'm really, really excited
It's going to be
about.
interesting as Cam Taylor-Britt kind of
Mhm.
works back into the fold as we see the rotation kind
Yeah.
of start to develop a little bit. And
Right.
maybe the reps do. I hate reading so much into reps, like first team reps
Yeah.
and everything else. But as we kind of see the
Mhm.
rotation and who ends up
Yeah.
playing in the preseason games, we may have a much clearer picture of
Mhm.
kind of who's the lead horse in this
Right.
race. So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Obviously it's good to have both of them. We want them
Yeah.
both to be
Listen,
successful
at the
and
end of the
manage
day,
to have this.
like listen, there are 2 guys that were picked with premium picks, right?
Right.
Yep.
One was picked in the second round, one was picked in the first in the first round.
Yep.
One of them is making a position change, right?
Mhm.
And by all accounts, I've heard he's attacked it head on. He's
That's
attacked
awesome,
it
man.
head on. He's had the
Needed to.
right attitude, the positive attitude regarding it.
I still think he could be a star nickel.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
just a joke
Yeah.
on the nickel being the star, but at the
And
same time-
I think
you like
I
that?
like that.
Little
I think-
football
Football
joke,
joke.
yeah, a little football guy joke, yeah.
I think continuing on that thought process, there are some more guys that need to be talked about more. You're starting to see, which is we do State of the Jungle on Wednesdays, but you're starting to see more talk about him right now. But Charlie Jones is having a standout camp.
Yeah.
He's having a standout camp. Very rarely dropping passes out there, being consistent. He's a guy that I really think the Bengals are really, really excited about. I'm excited to see what his role is going to be, but I think he's going to be a hard guy to keep off the field, man. I think he's going to be a hard guy to keep off the football field, and that's what you want, right? I saw some tweets out there like, "Oh, I think it's going to be a battle between him and Trent Irwin to see who's going to be." I'm like, I think
I understand.
Listen,
Like Trent Irwin is that nice place that you go to around the corner
Mhm.
regularly when you need something.
Yeah.
You just need some food that's quick and good, and it's going to deliver. But like Charlie Jones or Yoshivas or any of these guys, even some of the younger guys on the roster, that could be the new spot, right? Where you take the in-laws when they come to town, where you take your girlfriend on a nice night, like that could be something real special versus, again, there's definitely a comfort with Irwin, but we don't want to get too comfortable there.
No, I think Irwin's almost, more fighting for a roster spot than he has a starting spot.
I think him and right now,
especially if Hakeem Butler comes in and does good, like that's who you're looking at.
I think we all agree, right? It'd be like Jamar T and Jermaine Burton Yoshavas is like 3 and 4, however you want to do that. Jones. And then like Mike Gesicki is also in that mix because let's be honest, he spends 70 to 80% of his time in slot or wide receiver. So I definitely think that you're right. He's not even necessarily fighting for a roster spot, but like maybe him and Charlie Jones will be those last 2 receivers, right?
Yeah. And then even like that's why I just bring up the whole Hakeem Butler thing because that was just interesting to me. That kind of came out of nowhere. We don't really need anything at the position. So like to kind of bring him in and sign him immediately was pretty interesting.
Let me touch on that for a second, really quickly. I think that when let me just say this. I think this is what you've always wanted from the Bengals. Mm-hmm. You've always wanted them to never rest on their laurels because let's say even Hakeem Butler doesn't make the roster for whatever reason. Right. You store him on the practice, whatever that looks like.
They did carry 8 receivers 2 years ago. I just want to point that out.
You now know in the event, who does Hakeem Butler probably best resemble in the Bengals receiver room? Let's say he doesn't work at tight. Let's say they're working him out at wide receiver. Who does he best resemble in the wide receiver room? Who is that? T. Higgins, right? Yeah. Big body, very good catch radius. In the event T. Higgins goes down, you still want to have that sort of option to go to in this offense. And I think that when you look at it, I think that Hakeem Butler, for a lot of reasons, makes a lot of sense. Sometimes when you bring guys in as training camp bodies, it's for the future. It's for what could happen down the line. While you're here, we're going to keep the conversation rolling, guys. But give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss every single episode or every single time we go live for State of the Jungle presented by the Right Way Sports Network. But again, I think that when we talking about a guy like Hakeem Butler, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's I think competition breeds success. And I think for so long you're like, how many times have we seen good teams have a very good roster or a very good position group and they say, you know what? We have the ability to add to it. The Ravens do it at the running back spot all the time. They're always adding. Something else I find very, very interesting. I know you want to touch on the Hakeem Butler thing, Logan. I see people asking in the comment section regarding the punt return situation. Yeah. From my understanding, it's been we've seen Trent Irwin back there. We've seen Charlie Jones working back there. They've started to incorporate the running backs a little bit more. But I really don't see a running back taking that job. I think it's going to be Charlie.
I think you got to be careful when your depth is as shallow as it is at running back.
I think it's going to be Charlie's. I think it's going to be Charlie's job essentially.
He had it as a rookie. So.
Yeah.
Do you have something you want to say about Butler?
I mean, just in general, I was just going to get to the fact that like if you're nitpicking things in the back end of the roster, he's probably just a little bit more valuable to Irwin to me because he's you don't know what you have. He's a little more exciting, a little more of a threat. He can play kind of that maybe that tight end role a little bit. He's a little bit bigger of a body, which could impact a lot more on special teams than Irwin does. Outside of Irwin's familiarity with everything is obviously so important, and that's probably why he
dependability
continued to make the team. But I just when you're having that last roster spot or that last positional group player, I like the upside, and I do too. I think that's where my infatuation for him being in that room, and kind of giving some versatility and just a different look is more than a guy like Irwin.
Yeah, and I was just going to say in 21, I mentioned that they carried 8 receivers, and when they did that, I noticed that they had Mike Thomas and Stanley Morgan, who were predominantly special teams guys. And so I sit here and I wonder, maybe Butler and his familiarity with the special teams style that their NFL is moving to, that maybe that plays a little bit of role and it would help him stick on the roster. But as well, again, that's 7 receivers when they've carried 8 previously. And if that gets you another guy on special teams that you feel more comfortable with, and also, like you said, has that upside, then I think that's absolutely
especially with the new kickoff too, just because you're going to need to be able to tackle. He's a bigger body, maybe they it's weird that you're considering bringing in a wide receiver for his tackling abilities, but shit, I mean, if it separates you and gets you done on special teams, it gets you done on special teams. He's a lot more fun, I guess.
It wasn't like the wide receiver room was like so bad that they needed more depth too, because they had Jamar T, Tyler Boyd, Trent Irwin, Auden Tate. So I don't think it was like, the wide receivers were much worse, so they were keeping more. I think it was a lot the special teams matter. Yeah. It does. And to that point, I know people have kind of talked about like Matt Lee versus Trey Hill and backup center role. And I think I remember hearing one of the beat writers, I can't remember who, sorry about that, guys, whoever it was talking about Trey Hill getting a couple snaps on special teams. And so that says to me, they're finding any way they can to try and make sure that Trey makes this roster. They're giving him every opportunity, which I think is probably the right way to go, than as opposed to showing favoritism to the 7th round pick center who is more of the moving space kind of center, and you're running more of the man gap scheme, downhill stuff, and you're working on the big O line. So I wonder how that all meshes together, but I think that's a good sign for Trey making the roster.
I also want to touch on this. Make sure you guys drop your questions down in the comment section. We're going to get to your questions. No super chats, none of that. We want to have this dialogue with you. This is truly a show for the fans. This is why we do State of the Jungle, because it's almost like a State of the Union address where we just go over everything. We talk about everything in depth. We talk about the things people don't want to talk about. We talk about the uncomfortable topics. We talk about everything on this show. But I won't talk about players off the field. Personally, you know how many text messages or DMs I get? Are you ever guys going to talk about Cody Ford? And that's, I'm like, no, that's not this show. That's not what we do. This isn't TMZ. But I somebody asked Devin Ruck, my guy. He says Jermaine Burton getting much run with the ones. He is, and I think that when you have players that are sitting out like Jamar Chase, like T Higgins, this is going to be an incredible opportunity for some of these other wide receivers, which is why we're getting so much information and insight on guys like Charlie Jones, like a Trent Irwin, like a Andre Yoshivas. These guys are getting reps because guess what? The 2 top targets for the Bengals aren't as active in training camp as you would have liked them to be. Obviously, contract situations are playing a part in that for a lot of reasons. But I think this is a good thing still. I think this is still a good thing that these guys are getting opportunities, because in case they are thrusted into a spot in which they need to play, you feel much, much better about their situation, if you will. In terms of, I saw there was a question regarding about the Bengals under center. They've been mixing it up a whole lot more, from my understanding, more balanced under center, doing more play actions, and it's looked good. It's obviously you're going to have your flaws. It's a new wrinkle that they're adding to the offense from a consistency standpoint. But everything that I've heard has been positive. I saw somebody else ask me about Amarius Mims. Everything about Amarius Mims has been going, but again, he's 6'8", 300 some odd pounds. And I also want to caution this though. Here's one thing I want to say. We haven't seen too much, at least from my understanding, of Amarius Mims going up against like a Trey Hendrickson or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. The Bengals pass rush department, from an edge standpoint, is a sore spot. It's a spot where you need to see more. And it's a lot of guys that are learning a lot of stuff. So in saying that, I mean this with all due respect, and I hope everybody takes it this way. I don't put too much stock in the Bengals edge rushers going up against a 6'8", 300 some odd pound rookie. I want to see him in real time against somebody else's team's pass rusher, because I think that's when we'll get a really good understanding. Because I think that when we look at it, all of us on the show, we said seeing more juice in the pass rush department is something that we're vying for this upcoming season. So I think looking at him and saying, oh, wow, he's really dominating against the Bengals pass rush, that's great to see. Or he's doing good against the, some other pass rushers on the Bengals. I guess I don't grade it too highly. I don't rate it too highly. I need to see it in real time. That's just what I'm saying, because there was a point in time where Orlando Brown was having a great time, in the Bengals training camp. And then there were spots where he struggled and stuff like that. And maybe that's unfair. Maybe I'm being unfair, but I just think that we need to see more from both position groups. I think from the Bengals edge rushing standpoint, I think from the Bengals, tackles as well. I think we're just hopeful to see it all come together. I don't know if Evan, if you want to touch on anything.
No, I was going to say maybe we need to go down there ourselves on Friday and check out practice a little bit and see what's going on in training camp.
Evan's saying we should go down to training camp. What you guys think? You guys think me, Evan, and Logan should maybe pop down to training camp on Friday? Let us know down in the comment section. Maybe we'll do it. I don't know. I've never been. Listen, you know me, man. I like to sit where I sit. I like to watch where I watch from. I like to get the calls.
We're homebodies. That's all right.
Because I get the calls and texts, and they tell. Listen, I don't need to be at pick every single.
Bragging about how popular you are.
I'm not popular at all. Listen,
my phone's just silent as shit over here.
Daniel was the most popular one on this show, man. Daniel's the most popular one on the show. He just texted me just now. He was like, "You guys are killing it. I appreciate you, Daniel." Not approve. Appreciate you, man. But no, I always try to remove myself, because I always want to remain objective. If I'm close to said players or around said player, I want to. It's a little. Sometimes I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice guy, right? And I can't go on Sunday. Listen, I can't go on Sunday, guys, because I'm going to South Carolina. I'm taking myself on a little vacation.
Thank God.
I'm going to South Carolina. I'm going to take a little trip, so I can't go. But somebody said pop down and sign some autographs. No, I'm nobody, man. I'm just a guy with a hot mic. That's
He's
about it,
talking to
man.
me.
And he's talking to Evan. Evan will be the guy to sign some autographs, man. But like, I just really appreciate pretty much standing back and talking with you guys and talking my so to speak on the show and saying what it is that I need to say. I don't need to necessarily be up close with the players each and every single day. I just find it a little bit I don't know, too much. That's just me. That's just not something I'm up for. But if you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. We have over 130 people watching us live. You guys picked this Wednesday night to spend with us. For whatever reason, I guess we might be all right what we do. This chemistry, I believe, is genuinely second to none. It's the only live in studio Bengals talk show, longest running too. Probably at this point, right? We probably missed one Wednesday night since we've started the show. It's pretty crazy.
We record stuff, so
we still record stuff. It's pretty crazy. Man. I love hanging out with you boys, man. Somebody says soon you'll be watching Bengal home games from the TWSN suite. Big dreams. Ooh. You know what's funny? I actually had a phone call about that. About potentially getting TWS in its own suite. And you know what I said to myself, if I do it, it's going to be probably once or twice this year. But here's what I said. Anything that I do in this city, and I want to be clear when I say this, anything that I do in the city, it has to be about the people and it has to be about my team. It ain't about me. Anything we do in the city has to be about the people and it has to be about my team. So if we were to do that, if we were to get a suite, first of all, it would have to be a kick-ass game. Let's start there.
Oh, yeah.
Second, it would have to, the people would have to be included, meaning I'm not charging anybody. I'm saying, hey, listen, you're a kick-ass. I love what you do. Come watch this. Come watch a game for us in the suite. That's something that I've always wanted to do for a lot of Bengals fans, but I wasn't the one calling the shots when it came to that type of stuff. So again, if I have it my way and I do it my way, it's going to be about you guys. It's going to be for you guys. And we just appreciate y'all for literally supporting the show. But this is literally something that I was literally talking about doing. And Daniel's like, if you do it, it's got to make sense. It's got to be the game that you definitely want to. So it's something that we're literally talking about doing maybe once or twice. But again, it's about you guys because you guys determine how long we're on top. You guys determine how long we do this thing. So we appreciate y'all for picking us every single Wednesday. Let's get to some questions now. Let's start with K Breezy 05 says, can we get some insight on the Twitter/X teaser that I dropped? I'll say this.
Let loose, Malik.
Huh?
Let loose.
I'll say this. It's something that Cincinnati's never had before. I'm doing something. Listen, my company's slogan is new media. We try to do things differently. We try to also cover the game very differently. And I genuinely hope that y'all know I ain't making any profit off of what I'm about to do next. This is about y'all. This is about changing the game. This is about spinning the narrative of media in Cincinnati. I was told when I moved here that your style of media will never work in Cincinnati. That's what I was told. Your style of media would never work in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's set in his ways. Cincinnati doesn't care about the NBA. Cincinnati doesn't care about that. They just want to support the Reds. They're a baseball town. They support the Bengals when the Bengals are doing good. And you can't change any of that. You see, the problem with a guy like me, I like competition and I like challenges. When you tell me I can't, I say that I can. Better yet, when you tell me I can't, I say bet. And then I move forward. Let me just say this. What I'm about to do next is something that a lot of people who've been in this town, worked in this town, who I have a lot of respect, appreciation for, have yet to been able to do. So what I will say this, any move that I make is about the team and it's about the people. It's about the team and it's about the people because you guys put us in this position. But I took that challenge that I got of your style of media will never work. Oh, you'll never be able to cover the Bengals. I don't care to cover the Bengals on site. I don't care. That's not what it's about. I'm almost bringing a New York style-esque type media to Cincinnati, calling it like it is, telling it like it is, being humble enough to ask you guys your opinions and not act like I know everything. So when people tell me you can't do something or something is not possible, I take it as a challenge. And guess what? We meet it head on. That's what we're about here at TWSN. That's what my team is about. So when you tell us we can't do something, we're going to kick the fucking door down. That's what we're about. And that's what we're going to keep doing. So I can't tell you exactly what it is, but what I will say is hold on to your seats because it's going to be something pretty kick-ass. And everything that I do is for y'all. Keeping the conversation rolling. Sorry to get so passionate about it, but I care about it. And I was told that this would never happen. I was told that you can't do this. This is not possible. So guess what? We take it as a challenge. Let's keep it going. Somebody said, how is Miss Kinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins looking? I haven't heard too much, to be honest with you, nor have I asked. Again, a lot of the insight that I got, I didn't ask for. My phone rang. My phone rang and I got a text message and I said, hey, listen, what better way than to share with the people on State of the Jungle on Wednesday night? Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Let's keep the conversation going. Marissa, you got some questions here you can send me? Yeah. So we can get to some of them. Have we seen anybody that Nick Fox says, have we seen anybody the 3 safety look with Battle at linebacker? I haven't heard anything about that. Have y'all heard anything about it? Evan begins some more insight than me sometimes too.
Joe had brought up a little bit when we were talking with him when he was in town the other week that they had done some like 3-3-5 nickel looks in 2-minute drill situations where they were getting Dax Hill and Jordan Battle and Geno Stone and Von Bell all out on the field at the same time. I've talked about how Jermaine Pratt had a very standout year in coverage in his contract year, and every other year in coverage has been a little bit less than average, let's say. And that's completely fair because coverage is extremely difficult for linebackers. Cover this guy in man, cover this flat, especially carry this vertical up the seam. Yeah, it's tough, right? So there's a lot more like specialized linebackers. That's a conversation for another day. But a way to supplement the difference in coverage when you have those obvious passing situations is going to be getting Jordan Battle and Dax Hill into their natural roles, because I think Dax Hill in that kind of overhang slot role, covering those tight ends, playing near the box, being a Swiss Army knife, using his size and athleticism. I love that. I love that role for him. I hope that they rotate him in and out with Mike Hilton a little bit, not to take Hilton off the field, but just to keep him fresh, but also get some information on if Dax can play that role going forward, if you need to extend Mike Hilton or re-sign him. But that's, they have experimented a little bit with that. I'm eager to see that develop a little bit more now that they've got limited reps, things that they want to work on, probably doing less things that you want to stick in the wall or just throw at the wall and see if it sticks, more formulaic things you want to do. So I'm very interested to see if we see any of that in the preseason or in training camp.
Hope we do.
Yeah.
We got a question from our guy, Just Shrek. He says, and guys, drop your question down in the comment section. We're trying to answer as many questions as possible, honestly, and as swiftly as possible. Somebody says, I'm sorry, not somebody said, Just Shrek said, who are the people you are most excited to see in the preseason games? I'm really excited to see Murphy. I'm really excited to see Miles Murphy. Man.
I'll tell you what, man, I was thinking about this earlier because I love that he's going up against Amarius Mims.
Yeah.
Because what is the one thing that Amarius Mims can just absolutely shut down right now? Being 6'8", 350 pounds, it's your bull rush. And what do we know about Miles Murphy? Is he depends heavily on his bull rush and his long arm, right? His power moves. So I think it's very good, valuable experience for him right now to be taking these reps against a guy whose strength and specialty is dealing with length and strength, right? So I think it's going to be a challenge for Murphy and force him to develop and put his attention in different areas as opposed to being able to be comfortable, right? Because we obviously know when you're comfortable, you stagnate, right? And I just think it's a very good opportunity and learning experience for him as Sam Hubbard continues to work his way back, and they have a lot of veteran days right now. We talked about how the wide receivers are sitting out largely right now. This is a very valuable time for Murphy to get reps, and I think it's really, really beneficial to both him and Mims right now to be going against each other constantly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I think, and as far as who I'm going to watch in the preseason too, or just, we haven't really talked about this position too much, but like, especially in the preseason, I don't know who's even going to play linebacker. To be honest, like
Akeem Davis-Gaither,
and that's it.
Maybe Jordan Battle. Maybe some of the. Well, what about some of the other safeties that you have?
Yeah, you can do a lot of fun things. I know they hit some UDFAs there as well, but that's a position we don't have too much depth on, and obviously Wilson and Pratt are better than they played last year, so not overly worried about that. But they didn't play great last year, so it's interesting about the being. You don't have a lot of
Joe Bocci season, baby.
You didn't play very well last year. It's going to be interesting to see how that depth plays out
for sure.
Let's see this. Somebody said Just Shrek. A guy, Just Shrek, he's killing it with the questions today. I appreciate you.
Bringing it. Love it.
It says, and Greg, we're gonna get to you as well. He says, But Just Rex says, what sneaky trade do you think the Bengals can make before the trade deadline? Sneaky? I don't.
Is it before the trade deadline or like the
it's
waiver
going to be,
thing
but
again?
the thing is, if it's going to be a sneaky trade, it's going to be like the Billy Price. For
We're fleecing.
VJ. It's not. It's well. That's the thing is, it's going to be like 6th round for your rotational like backup guy. It's not going to be like, oh man, the Bengals just sniped like tight end 2 or linebacker 3 off this roster, and he could potentially start for him. I think it would be more of like, we want a rotational guy, and we can shuffle Jackson Carman and like a 5th round pick over to you and get a guy we feel like is going to help us.
Yeah, I think I've hit this area a few times when this brought up, but just running back. It's just even just getting another better RB3 in there, or just. I mean, I like Zach Moss and Chase Brown and how they complement each other. But again, if they go down, I don't like how a running back room led by just one of them looks either.
Yeah.
I think a complimentary third back that you can just trust a little bit more than the guys we currently have makes a lot of sense.
I think maybe not during the season, but like when veteran cuts start to come around and people say, hey, I don't want to have to fight waivers or negotiate this. I'd rather trade you 7th round throwaway pick, just for, hey, you get something, we get the guarantee of having him. I definitely could see
Jackson Carman.
Dude, I would take any of like the Jets 6 running backs that they have right
got
now
a lot
too.
too,
like
man.
I love so many of them. So
there's a few crowded rooms.
Yeah, there are for sure. So there's definitely, that's the thing about running back, right? Is there's always a lot of talent floating around the league at that position. It's not one that's hard to find, but I think running back, that's a good pick.
Sasquatch Sports says, Malik, any updates or nuggets on a possible Chase extension? No, I have no updates, no nuggets, but if I do, you guys know I will either tweet it out in GIF form or actual a tweet with you guys, or we'll say it here on the show. I just think that again, I don't really rate this too serious right now.
It's not, and a big reason is because we went through this with Saquon Barkley, right? When
he's a different example. He left his team.
Well, see, the thing is, Saquon Barkley, right, was a great example of we have a star player and they're on a rookie contract, but they can't do anything. They have no leverage. You have no leverage because you can't actually hold out, which is why we call it a hold in, right? Because if the wide receiver or whoever on the rookie contract, this was negotiated by the owners to give them more power over keeping you guys. It's like a franchise tag for rookies, right? You can't do anything. And if you don't show up to camp, if you don't play in games, you lose that year of eligibility. So like you don't hit the market, that year doesn't expire on your contract. It doesn't count, which means you can make less money than you were going to. You can hit the market later than you wanted to. So for all those reasons, you don't have much leverage. Now, the Bengals have talked about wanting to do this. Jamar's now talking about wanting to do this. His agent's not been mad. He's not been mad. He's been handling everything. That makes me think that this is more of just kind of a nudge, like, hey, I'm ready, because we've talked previously. Hey, I understand Jamar doesn't want to sign right now when you've got CeeDee Lamb, when you've got Brandon Ayuk, who are going to be getting new contracts, and you can get more money. But if he's already saying, hey, give me the Justin Jefferson deal, or like, and $1, and I can laud that over him as one of my friends for the next year or whatever, right? Then yeah, for sure. Just in terms of details, I think it would be a 3-year extension if it were to get done before the season, just to give it 5 total years that they could then spread out. 5 years is the max that you can distribute your signing bonus over for accounting purposes. So that would give them the most flexibility with the cap number of $9.8 million this year, 4.8 in guaranteed salary. This would be a great year to front load a lot of that bonus money accounting wise, because you have the 20 some odd $1 million in cap space, right? People were always asking, what were they doing with that cap space? Are they going to go sign somebody? Well, this could be an area where, again, if a T Higgins deal was worked out, if a Jamar deal is worked out, then they have that space and that money right now for accounting purposes where, hey, if you have $100 million guaranteed, we can load up, 20, 30 million of that this year and feel all right with where we are, and then spread that out other ways.
Agreed. Somebody asked us a question, Bram Glass. Appreciate you, man, too. Man, appreciate you being active in the chat. Before I get to that question, we've got over 120 people in the chat. We've got 46 likes. We appreciate you guys for supporting us. Again, no super chats, none of that stuff. We just ask that if you guys give this video a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's how we keep it going. We appreciate you. Bram Glass says, he says, any crossover with the Cincinnati podcast in the works? Nothing in the works. I've worked with them a little bit in the off season. I'll say this. It's really, really cool now because, again, you know, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I would just say that there were a lot of things that we weren't able to do beforehand in terms of working with a lot of amazing content creators. Let me be here first and say this: there ain't a hating bone in my body for any content creator out there. I run a media company.
It's a grind, man. It's tough.
And I listen. I remember before the TWSN became as established as we are. I remember being that content creator, trying to make content, trying to do that, and trying to do that. I'll say this: I got nothing but respect for each. I don't care if you have, you know, a couple thousand followers or one follower. If you reach out to me, I don't think I've ever said no to jumping on anybody's show. There have been times where I may have not seen your stuff or whatever the case may be, but I've always tried to work with as many awesome content creators. And one thing I'll say about the Bengals community is there's so many awesome content creators out there. Guys like Strawberry with Ice, right? People
shout
like,
out Jeff.
Shout out Jeff. People like Bengals Captain who does the show with him. You got
shout out Hubei,
Hubei Tigers Talk. Yeah. You've got I want to run through it real quick. I do.
Dude, go ahead. Yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
I haven't done this. Let me
because
now we're breaking down the forbidden wall.
Shout out Mike and Lindsay.
Lindsay
was one of the first people who gave me a chance when I was working with PFF. Shout out Mike and Lindsay.
There are so many awesome content creators out there. So let me just take a moment to tap my hat out to you. What Ace and Zim do for the Cincinnati podcast. Love it. You guys keep it going. I know my guy Eric is also very, very active on Bengals Twitter. They do a great job. They do something that I thought was very revolutionary, right? Offering up Twitter spaces and doing that with people and stuff like that. I think that stuff is pretty cool.
Excellent.
James Rapine does an amazing job. Jake Lisco, Locked on Bengals. You guys are the standard. You know, there's so many amazing content creators, and I think that Bengals fans are very, very lucky to be working with them. My guy Drew Garrison does an amazing job as well. I have so much love, appreciation for all of y'all, man. And because guess what? It's not easy making content. You know what's even tougher? I mean, when you're covering a team that isn't doing well. And I remember being in New Jersey covering the Bengals and covering this and doing all that and good stuff. And it was really not that much to really talk about or write home about, right? But now you're in a spot where the Bengals are talking about Super Bowl chances, and it's really, really cool. So for me, I've always got nothing but love, appreciation, and respect for every single content creator out there, whether you're thinking about getting started or whether you have gotten started. My DMs are always open. Feel free to reach out. Me and the team, we love to see y'all continue to succeed. Love to see y'all continue to eat, and we just hope that everybody just appreciates what we do as well every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. But
I want to make sure we shout out some friends of the show too. We got John Sheeran, who's been on there for the draft show.
Amazing.
Him and Anthony doing great things over at OBI, and then Matt Minnick and Willie Lutz, man. Like two guys who have been in the space for a long time. I know they're doing their thing with their podcast over there. So shout out to all you guys.
100%.
Like you said, we have a lot more freedom to work with people now, and we have some things in the pipeline that we're going to be coming down, working with other creators, doing some special content coming your guys' way. So this season is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of new things that we haven't been able to do in the past.
Sir,
we're excited about.
And part of being the quote unquote hashtag new media is breaking down that wall of mentioning said shows or mentioning said people.
Don't mention the competition.
Don't mention the competition. Hey, stop. Right? We might pull your show if you do. No, but we appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. Let's keep the conversation. Somebody said, just Shrek again. He says, I need you on that franchise guys Bengal deep dive. Sure. Well, I don't know who that is, but let's do it. I'm all down. Somebody's Hunter Moore says percent.
Oh, he's talking about. I think he's talking about the franchise guy. I believe he's talking about Marcus Whitman. Used to work at PFF. He was an analyst.
Oh, really?
Friend of my buddy Cole Brown that we used to work with there at PFF. Yeah.
Wow.
I think he's talking about Marcus Whitman. And
completely down.
Really
I got stuff down and working in the pipeline with Sean Ross Sapp as well, who's very accomplished in the professional wrestling world. Very good friend of mine. He texted me afterwards, and always showing support, always showing love. Let's keep it going though. Matt Heitzman said, "I'd love to see Locked On State of the Jungle crossover episode. That'd be sick." I agree. Those guys do a great job, right? They are the standard.
I was gonna say, Jake was one of the first people to reach out to me too at PFF when I was doing the Bengals Twitter account. Just be like, "Hey, dude, who are you, faceless person behind you tweeting these stats all the time? I'd like to pick your brain a little bit." So shout out to Jake, shout out to Lindsay, shout out to all these people.
Yeah.
Everybody continue to lift each other up, man. There's so much good content because I remember, like you said, when the team was not good, like back in, post 2015, when there were the down years of, 2017, 18, 19 and all that, there was kind of a black hole of Bengals content where there just was not this overflow of all these different podcasts and awesome graphic designers and content creators. And so like now it's awesome to see what it's become.
Yeah, man, I agree. Could you just the one thing I want to picture for a second? We keep talking about how amazing the Bengals fan base is and how amazing the content creators is. Can you picture this team winning a Super Bowl and how the city would be? When I say unhinged, I mean absolutely unhinged. This city would be on fire in a good way, not in a bad way. Won't be like Philly. Won't be like Philly. But no, man. It's pretty sick.
Didn't start the fire.
Baron Glass says Bengals fan base is just the best. Our content creators and media people with TWSN leading the way. Wow, we appreciate that. I will say that we cover things nationally. These people do an amazing job. Ben Baby, James, Paul Daner, Jay Morrison, who he was kind enough when I first started to read my first story that I wrote. I found out then that I didn't love writing as much, but I'm always
editors can be harsh
appreciative.
sometimes, man.
Right.
It's all right.
Right, and even though you guys don't see us crossover with them, when we go to these sporting events as media and stuff like that, I see them all the time, and I always talk to Paul, always talk to Jay, always talk to James, always talk to Ben. Like it's nothing but love. It's all good people, man. All good people. Let's keep it going. Somebody said I'm saving a bottle of Pappy for all of us. I don't know what Pappy is. That sounds concerning.
It's some expensive whiskey. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, who's Pappy? Somebody. Country Car Caravan. You got a dope name, man. He said, any late round rookies or undrafted free agents who have been standing out. Haven't heard too much on that front. I know McNamara, again, he was turning a lot of heads, and then I guess it kind of tailed off a little bit. Started off strong, but
right.
Consistency is the name of the game when it comes to punting, and especially in the National Football League. That's what we look for. He's the guy that I'm still hopeful will probably rise to the top, man. And we just got like 140 people in here, so we appreciate y'all, man.
Thank y'all for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all, man. We appreciate
Welcome.
y'all.
Drop your questions in the chat.
Yes, please do. Undrafted free agent Ryan Sparks, our guy, is always in the chat. We appreciate you, brother. He says undrafted free agent Devon. I always pronounce the name wrong.
It's his guy.
Man.
It's his guy, Devontae Maxwell. Yeah,
Maxwell is a guy I want to have an update on. When will we see him on the field in preseason? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And
he'll get extended run, man.
One thing I'll say is I really hope that this year that they put a little more stock into preseason and how guys perform, because I think that that's really a spot. I felt like, what was the pass rusher last year the Bengals had? They let go, but he was a monster in preseason. And we all said we could have utilized that guy.
Hang on one second.
I'm forgetting him right now, man. But that guy was an absolute monster.
We had a different one the year before.
It could be different.
Miami.
It could be. It could be. Dude, the way you approach the game.
I'm working on it. Give me a second.
It could be the way you approach the game.
Vamp.
It could be the way you approach the game. It could be from a
Raymond Johnson.
Raymond Johnson.
Johnson.
That's
right, man.
Yeah,
that dude
eight
was
pressures. Eight pressures on 54 pass rushes. Woo,
Let me just say that I didn't understand that for the life of me. Taking that.
The year before was what? Darius Hodges too.
Yeah, Darius Hodges. Everybody's preseason favorite. Listen, I just really hope that again that these guys get an opportunity. I really. And Dominic Davis. Dominic Davis
too. Yeah, Dominic Davis.
Yeah, Dominic Davis was another guy. Listen, there are so many good pass rushers that I felt like the Bengals probably let slip through the cracks, and I get it. They like their guys. They kind of have their core already set. Joe Fasad,
he didn't get picked up after that.
No, he didn't.
Which is kind of wild. You'd think somebody would take a stab at that, but I also want to be clear that we're talking about the rotational guys, the back end of the roster guys. I still will stand firmly as I don't see you guys got a lot of different preseason reps versus the ones where you ran a watered down offense and you handed the ball off 5 out of your 7 dropbacks or your snaps. Now they're ready, right? Or the week run rust hits and it's if I would have just played 10 more snaps in the preseason and thrown a couple more slants or just a couple more wide receiver screens, then I would have really. When was the last time you ever heard a quarterback be like, if I would have just played more in the preseason, I definitely would have played better this week? Never, right? I understand the feeling if we want to get hit, we want to feel the live action, we want to be in that game kind of mode. But again, when they're just out there lining up straight across from each other, playing basic cover 2, and
Joe Burrow said, "I like to get hit. It makes me feel like a football player."
That doesn't. I understand that. Week 1's waiting for you, bud. You're ready. You're not going to throw. You're already a top 3 quarterback, man. You ain't going to be you're still Joe Burrow, man. I always think
you're still that guy.
I don't think if one starter gets hurt for 4 to 6 weeks on the offensive line, the wide receivers. It's immediately not worth it. It's immediately not worth it if Trey Hendrickson goes down and now he has a hamstring and now maybe he's out for 2 weeks, but now he's 80% of himself the rest of the year, right? That's not worth it.
Osai a few years ago, I don't know if it was rookie of the year after. He had a really strong preseason. He kept playing, broke his hand.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. Go with the joint practices with other teams. Keep that level of competition. Keep that level of competition and intensity. You're going to do a lot more there than you will in a preseason game because it's not nationally broadcast. There's not game film outside of what's available in the practice area. So you're a little more willing to be competitive, to do some of your stuff that you really want to work on, right?
Yeah, I think I never even realized much of importance until I started coaching. Like those joint practices it's so much different. It's so much better. You just get more out of it. You feel more. You can watch.
Talk about that a little bit.
You can watch things more closely. You can just focus on one thing more instead of actually having to run a full game script. I can run 13 run plays in a row to see if this guy's going to block the way I want. You don't have to worry about picking up a first down. You don't have to worry about winning a game. You can truly just sit there and work on and put yourself in a position to see the things that you want to see the players that you want to see the matchup that you want to see if this player is going to run his route right, to see if he's going to be able to press. And who cares if he gets beat right now because it's not a touchdown. You can just – there's so much just so much more free. Like the outcomes it doesn't matter what happens, but you can truly – it's easier to set up what you want to see more than it is in a game. Because if I want to see this guy one-on-one, I can just, hey – one-on-one. But if it's a game, he might run all the way across the field and then like, shit, I wanted this guy to press and now his wide receiver is running all the way over here.
I want to stick with this because I want your insight on this. I want to ask, what do you feel like are the tremendous advantages that you gain from not having your offense versus your defense, right? You have that familiarity. What do you think is the biggest advantage that you get from having your offense go against a different defense that's going to see things differently, react, have different rules than your defense does?
It's just a familiarity. Obviously like coaching high school is utterly different, but it's just our kids, they know the person they're going against. They do it every day. They're going to know I can just beat him in. He's a little slower. I can beat him on this move. I can beat him on that. When you're just thrown up against a random corner on a different team, it's like, now I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how he's going to react. I know he's not cheating the play that he knows that we're running. Right. Like there's just so much more unknown to it. So it's just more of a true quality game rep. Obviously like a rep's a rep, but when you have somebody on the other side of you that you are unfamiliar with and they don't know what's coming, it's a closer to a game rep than anything else.
Well, yeah, a rep is a rep, but at the same time, if you're shooting a wide receiver screen just off on a rep
versus quality of reps.
Right,
reps
when you
reps,
when you do like a play
important.
action rollout and you're reading the whole field 3-1 and high to low and then coming out, that's a different quality of rep. So good insight there. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And I felt kind of left out there a little bit.
Sorry, Malik, we had our little cozy thing going on. Welcome to the couch in the corner.
I always love the insight Logan brings, man. That's why he's such a valuable member to State of the Jungle show, man, because he does look at it from the coach's perspective, and I think he has the ability to really resonate with the masses, with the fan base, with us certainly. So we appreciate you, Logan, for sure. I want to also shout out our YouTube manager, Jimmy Dutton, man. He's doing a great job, man. We don't have a camera necessarily on him. Jimmy, you do some amazing work, man. I just want to say we appreciate all your efforts, man, all the time you put in. I know we kind of get videos to you kind of late, man, but this thing doesn't tick without you, brother. And
Nature of the beast, right?
We listen, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. Guys, so there's something cool that I want to do this year, man. I wasn't able to do it before, but I kind of want to do this, man. I want to highlight and spotlight various different people around the city of Cincinnati. It doesn't even necessarily be in Cincinnati necessarily. You could just be a part of the Bengals fan base or Bengals community, whether it be that you are into graphic design, whether it be that you're you're artsy type of person, whatever the case may be. I'm not asking for anything. We're not asking for sponsorship on the show at all. I'm just asking to literally highlight some of these creators, people that do some amazing work, whether you have an upcoming Bengals podcast, anything we could do to help your platform, I'm all for, man. And reason why I say that is because a good friend of mine, he launched his own clothing brand a while back, Saint Swagger, and you probably have seen him on Instagram. He does some amazing work. I know him and Jim are friends as well. But he designed that T-shirt right there, man. He designed that T-shirt that you see Logan wearing, man. And he does some amazing work, man. I want to be able to use my platform to really uplift others, man. And I think that's the right thing to do, if you ask me. Yeah. And so, again, if you
know people doing good work, charities, fundraisers, anything
like that, man, feel free to kick it over our way, man. That's what we're about here on State of the Jungle, man, where this is a show for the people, man, for the people. And that's why I'm excited for this next chapter of what we are going to do. I saw somebody ask this last question. This is the last question I'm gonna get into. Somebody said, Adrian Cardoso. He says, record predictions. We hoisting that Lombardi. I need someone to cook right now. I'll cook. Listen, I think that the Bengals have the opportunity to do something really, really special, something that they haven't been able to do in their franchise's existence. And I think they have the ability to hoist the Lombardi trophy. But I think it all starts with cutting your own grass first. We kind of talked about this a while back. It means winning, your games in your division, right? Then conquering the AFC. You can go on from there. But you got to be able to win. You can't start slow. You definitely can't win one game in your division. That just can't happen. Need to find a way. And I think if the Bengals want to realize the potential that they have, I think that it behooves them to probably get off to a fast start, which is why it's refreshing to see Zach Taylor say starters will play in preseason. I don't know what that means. I think that could be one or two snaps. I need to see it for me to believe it. But for me, it's one of those things where it's like, at the end of the day, if the Bengals are able to start off fast, and I think that they are getting a golden opportunity to start off with the New England Patriots and then face the Kansas City Chiefs, who they, undoubtedly is going to come. The conference is going to come down to the Chiefs, Ravens, and whoever, right? Mm-hmm. The Bengals have the opportunity to really, really wreck a lot of the Chiefs' plans, and their idea of potentially a three-peat. So that's my thought process. Logan, you got anything else you want to add on that?
No, I think you hit on all the key points. I think the Bengals have a lot. They have everything they need to make the run. I think, this time right now in this first few weeks, just a lot of new faces, a lot of new bodies, a lot of questions, but not a lack of talent, and which is the most important issue to have. You just have to figure out how to use it. And I think once this team figures it all out, maybe it's week 1, maybe it's week 2, regardless, as long as they figure it out by the time the playoffs roll around, this team has everything they need to make the run. They have the athletes, they have the talent, they have, maybe some depth you'd like to see improving a little bit, but that's nitpicking. Everybody's going to have their issues like that. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you really look at that they don't have that you're like, you really want them to have. They've shown they can do it. They've added more talent. They've added guys that can play different positions and play different roles and be more versatile. They got it all. They just have to put it all together, figure out what works for them, and then continue to move forward. And they'll get there. They just have to make sure they do it at an acceptable time so you can hit the playoffs rolling.
Yeah, I think this is an offense-driven league, and I think we saw some of the best defenses kind of shift focus from, hey, we're trying to limit you every play, to we're trying to, you might get us for 3 or 4 explosives, but we're going to get you for 8 plays for loss, right? So it's about having a opportunistic defense more than a stonewall defense. And offense is more consistent game to game, year to year. This is obviously Joe Burrow being healthy, deepest roster weapons that they've had. Joe Burrow's words himself. Offensive line, best it's been since 2015. And then the defense, again, you've got some players and some hungry guys all over with some good veterans and Mike Hilton and Von Bell and Geno Stone. And so hopefully you can get a little bit more of the turnover action, a little bit more from the pass rush. And I mean, hey, again, it's about being opportunistic. They don't have to be a top 5 defense. If you got a really good offense, a top 10 unit, you can be the 15th or 20th best defense and just show up on when they need you, right? Make the crucial plays. So I think they are very well primed for a legitimate run. I know Malik and I were talking when they made their first run about how the run was exciting, but there wasn't a lot of consistency that could be brought from it, right? When you're generating so much offense from just downfield explosive shots, those are productive and result in a lot of points, but are not as easy to consistently come by. I think they are a much more built for consistent success team now than they were then. And I think they are going to be able to capitalize this year in a time where there's a lot of turmoil at the top of a lot of the different conferences right now. I think it really is wide open for the taking. So I think this definitely can be the year that they capitalize.
100%. We got a question from our guy, Will Herman, and he says, our guy at TWSN, Will Harmon, who does some great work. He says, how do we think the Bengals do in the division? Split with everyone, sweep Pitt. I'll make this prediction. I think the Bengals sweep Pitt. I think the Bengals split with the Browns. And I think the Bengals
the Ravens.
I think the Bengals will beat the Ravens this year, though. I'm not too worried about that. But I could see a split happening there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? You have any
I
thoughts on
think
that?
that's what you're shooting for. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't ask to sweep everybody in the division. The Steelers are the worst team. You have to take advantage there. The Browns, maybe the Browns are
The
I don't know,
division
Browns they're
boogeyman.
so weird. We just can't. Yeah. So split the Ravens, and then as long as you sweep one
Right.
of them, I think you're happy.
I agree. Josh Shrek says, great show as always. Appreciate you guys. We appreciate you too, man. Joshua says, Logan versus the Mike movement. Who is going to win the battle? Great show as always.
It keeps dropping on me, man.
Yeah,
Bro.
no, we gotta tighten it up a little
I
bit.
know.
We
I
gotta
did. I
be-
think I got it now, though. I think I got
Hey,
it now,
listen,
though.
man. Well, maybe we got to do a little arm.
I think
mic
it's
or
good.
something
I
like
think
that.
this was just loose, and I
We gotta
don't
do
know why I
something. We
didn't
gotta
do
do
it before.
Listen, guys, let us know what you guys want to see us add to the studio. We're constantly adding this thing. By no means is this thing perfect, but again, this is just us, just the boys talking ball, man. That's what it's about, man. And I'm happy we kind of got that vibe, that feel,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's good to be back.
Chemistry's here, and yeah, we want to thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of State of the Jungle. We got over 130 people watching live, but only 64
Awesome.
likes. If we can get that up, we appreciate you guys so much. We appreciate you guys spending your Wednesday evenings with us all the time. Give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. And remember, we have content coming out each and every single day. The content does not stop. And until next time on State of the Jungle next Wednesday, Hoo Day.